vasectomy or you are on birth control, like that doesn't determine whether someone lives or dies. It's the act that you take afterwards, meaning the abortion, that is determining whether somebody lives or dies.
I guess more into my question would be like, why wouldn't it be okay, in the sense that if it's like, you can ban abortion as long as everybody has to have these stipulations, right? So everybody has to be on birth control, everybody has to have a vasectomy, and that way it's always intentional. And on the off chance that it isn't, then yeah, abortion is a no-go. You can't do that because why, you did this incorrectly, or the vasectomy, you didn't, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't abide by that.
Do you think right now a woman should be allowed to change her mind? So like if she intentionally gets pregnant and then decides later that she doesn't want to be pregnant, do you think she should be allowed to change her mind and have an abortion?
No, I don't think so. But I also don't think it's safe for me to have that.
Can I add something, Andy?
Sure.
She said something. She said, oh, why doesn't just like every woman go on birth control or like vasectomy, blah, blah, blah. Actually, some women medically cannot go on birth control and hormones. For example, me, I can't medically go on contraception and all that stuff because I have something called factor V Leiden, which basically I'm more prone to blood clots, to throw blood clots, right? Either in the lung or in my leg, that can be lethal. I can be unalived. So
Oh, I think she may have said something that wasn't allowed. I don't know where she went. But oh, okay. Can she be put back? I kind of want to hear what she was saying. I was learning a little bit. Well, if she can get back, then never mind. But for her, like, in that situation, then I guess I would say vasectomies. I haven't heard anything about someone not being able to do that. Okay. I wanted to hear what you were saying now that you're back.
yeah, so there is medical things that will not allow a woman to be on contraception or on hormones or on things like that. So yeah, that's not a possibility for all women just to be like, go on birth control or something like that.
Okay. Would you say that there would, like, do you have another solution as to how you could make it intentional every time? Like, is there a way that you could cut it off from everybody and just say, like, if you get pregnant, you intentionally did that? You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like,
even if we could, which I don't think we can, but even if we could, it still wouldn't address whether abortion should be allowed or not. So,
well, no, what I'm saying is, like, if that were a thing and people were allowed to do that, so like if the control was placed up higher, right, and they said, okay, everyone has to have this, and if not, and you get pregnant, you cannot have an abortion because we don't support that, which is like, okay, so abortion would fall after the fact, meaning you got pregnant against what was supposed to happen, but right, now you have to face that.
This is addressing the likelihood or the frequency that abortion is going to be wanted in the first place, but it doesn't address whether it should be allowed. So, I mean, like, it might be an interesting conversation. It's not really the one that we're having here. I don't think Ev wants to get too deep into this because it doesn't really address whether abortion is right, wrong, whether it should be banned or whether it should be allowed. We can agree, like, we address some of these things and people are going to want it less often to begin with. But just because they want it less or more doesn't mean it's right or wrong.
Okay. But would you say that if I know someone said a second ago that like we're basically split, like it's half and half. People agree, people don't agree, but who's to say who's right or wrong? Like, why?
Well, that's why we have these conversations. And when we make the argument from the pro-life side, I think we're very consistent, whether people agree with it or not, whether they think it should be implemented or not. We're very consistent as far as protecting life. And from the pro-choice side, at least the majority of people ultimately contradict themselves or are not consistent at all when it comes to what they would allow and what they wouldn't allow. And I'm not saying that's everybody on the pro-choice side, but the majority of them.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I'll just say point taken for now, but I do have to go. I appreciate the conversation.
Nice talking to you, Brie.
And also, I appreciate your topic as well. That was insightful. I didn't even know that was a thing. To Chloe.
A lot of people don't know they have it. It's not something like, usually when someone has a baby, they check for like allergies and stuff like that, peanut butter. This is not something that they check for in the hospital, and it's like a hereditary thing. So it's a specific test they have to test for. But I suggest everybody go and do that test, because especially for women and pregnant women, if you end up throwing a blood clot, especially somewhere in your lung, it can be very lethal. So yeah, definitely look into that type of test.
Just before I go, I do want to preface this. Like, education to me is so important. Like, as me, I don't feel like, even as a woman and like as a pregnant woman at that, I don't think that I have enough education to tell somebody like you're right or you're wrong, or I have like I don't feel like I'm educated enough to make that decision for someone else. Like in the instance for Chloe, like I had no idea that was even a thing. So why should I be able to say like, no, you can't do that, and her be like, dude, I can't, like, health wise, it's not a thing. And I'm like, well, shit, like, I just made a decision. Oh, excuse me. I just made a decision that, could potentially put her life at risk, and I wasn't educated about it. Like, I feel like we should have more education about the topic as it is before we can say everybody needs to make a choice about this. Like, everybody needs to vote. Everybody needs to make this decision. Like, I believe there's so many people that should not even qualify to vote in the first place, just based off of the lack of political knowledge.
I agree with you to an extent. I think before people vote or voice opinions on things, I think they should be educated. I think these conversations are good a lot of times because, well, when we have good conversations anyway, because people are getting educated and on both sides, we are learning more about the topic as a whole and the issue at hand. But yeah, I think people should absolutely be informed before they vote.
Yeah.
What an abortion looks like, because I know something that people don't know, and just to educate yourself on it, what a first trimester, second trimester, third trimester, partial birth abortion looks like. So that's something you can look into as well. And I think that would also give you a very good understanding of why a lot of pro-lifers are adamantly against the taking of innocent life in the womb.
I think for me, like, even with the education part of it, people aren't open to it. And that's part of the problem, in my opinion, is like it was in a, whatchamacallit, I was in a live before this, not y'all's obviously, but one before this, and people were just so unopen to healthy conversation, and it's a problem because nobody can voice their opinion without being badgered about it, or like nobody understands what a debate is or a discussion. It just comes out like you don't agree and you're wrong and you need to know that, So it's like, for me, I take these very seriously because asking questions is important. And when you're not, like, when you can ask a question confidently, it makes it so much better. Like, I've been in a classroom where I couldn't ask a question about something because I felt like I was going to be called stupid for not knowing or stupid for asking. And I think that's such a wrong way to do things, which is why I appreciate, like, conversations and collectives like this, because it's so important for people to discuss and see the point of view of other people and, like, be in other people's shoes. Like, it's, I don't know. To me, education is so, so important when it comes to making a decision for a mass group of people, or, your area, your state, your whatever,
Yeah, I think people on both sides really should be educated before they have the conversation, because I think a lot of people will just say things and make claims that are just not anywhere close to true, and other people don't really have the knowledge to push back on some of the stuff. So yeah, people definitely need to be educated on the topic to have the conversations, and like you said, be open to having the cordial conversation. And we're all guilty of it. I mean, even in these lives. We haven't been the most open sometimes, but we try to be. We try to have calm and productive conversations as much as we can.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and head out, but I do heavily appreciate the answers to the questions. Stumping me on it helps me a lot, so I appreciate it and helping me with the
That's the
understanding.
point, just to get everybody thinking more. Obviously, we would like everybody to come to our point of view, but as long as people are thinking more, then that's a good thing.
But anywho, I'm headed out.
Ask us questions, Brie. Feel free to ask us questions. Like, that's what we want. That's what we're here to do. That's the best way to advocate, is to answer questions and converse like that. So yeah, you're more than welcome to message me, female to female. My DM will be open to you, my friend.
I appreciate it. Bye.